All right, Dr. Shamarah J. Hutchins, welcome to the Chundria Show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Clinical psychologist, transformational speaker, and you're also a mindset architect, aka the Mindologist, right? You wear the
Yeah.
hats, you wear them well. What do those titles mean to you?
Man, those titles just combine my whole life. So I always think about life like holistically. And so how it all comes into one. So the mindologist is just me bringing, that clinical psychology together, the study of the mind, and how I just transform myself as a person needing to control my mindset and understanding what's in my control and not my control, and just how I just all combine it together within who I am as a person.
I love that. And I love that not only have you studied the mind, but you have an affinity for serving others and helping us become better versions of ourselves, and that starts with the mind, like how we move, the choices we make. All of that stems to our thinking and our mind. So you have a mindset t-shirt on today. um, Mindset matters. Where does that affinity for serving others stem from? Was it your grandmother that raised you, or was it from something else?
It was my grandmother who raised me for the first part. She is always selfless, as we're really big on family. She really told us no matter what, our family is our core, and she is our, person who is the glue that holds us all together. So as I was growing up, I knew that I wanted to help people. I used to watch the Cosby Show, and I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. I don't care. I'm going to be a doctor. And back then, all I knew was medical doctors. And so I've always been the person in my family to help others, no matter what it was, how it was. I figured out a way. And so that brings me joy. Seeing other people happy makes me happy. And so I believe that's my core value, along with family, but also helping others is one of them.
I love that so much, and I appreciate that on behalf of the planet. Because you could just go on through life and just focus on yourself, but you've, made it your personal mission to serve others. Now, you've written a book, The HERology of a Woman. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And it's a part of a trilogy. So tell me more about the book and the trilogy and why you decided to do a series.
Okay. And so that comes back to, being that clinical psychologist and just thinking about not only women, minorities in general. And we think about, therapy. We don't want to go to talk to nobody about our problems. And so I'm always thinking outside the box. How can I give people therapy and they not even knowing they had therapy? And so when I was around 19 years old, my pastor told me that I should write a book. And I'm like, I'm only 19. What do I have to give the world? At 19 years old, nothing. And so that kept staying in the back of my mind. And so as I grew older, it always stayed in the back of my mind. I said, you know what? When I turned around 30 something, I said, it's time. And so that's where the herology of a woman came from, the study of a woman, how to be her, how to navigate, the trauma that happens and work through it. So it's a little bit of like a memoir of who I am, but it also gives tools towards the end of each chapter of people thinking about themselves. If I went through this, what are some of the questions I would ask myself, or can I work through? And so it gives them a little therapy in the midst of it. And so that was that first book was just me knowing who I am, working through my trauma, and being, getting to the point where I go to the second book where it says mindset matters. And so then it says I became, but now as I became, how did I navigate staying and involving? And that's working on my mindset, because I done worked on the trauma, I done worked on all the issues, I done worked on, parent issues, sibling issues, being raped, all of those things I worked on. And so now I'm at the point where, how can I make sure my mindset is set, not only as an entrepreneur, but as a mother, as a friend, as a philanthropist, as, a giver. How can I make sure that, through those hard times, I'm still going to push? And that's where Mindset Matter comes in, giving you the tools to help you think about those, negative thinking, cognitive distortions, stinking thinking, the things that we automatically thinking at the first, I can't do this, imposter syndrome, all those things, helping you work through it. And so that's where the birth of Mindset Matters came from just continuing becoming to who I am and, where I'm going. And then the third book is Blueprint to Alignment, putting it all together. And so I got my mindset, I got my therapy, and so now here is the blueprint that I can continue to grow and evolve with.
I love the series. I love how jointed they are, and it really is. You're really single-handedly taking the reader on a like a pathway, like their own special adventure, which I credit. Therapy is so important, but since, like you said, a lot of people are not like jumping at the opportunity to go to therapy. You may not know who to go to. May not be ready to take the first step, and so I'm really grateful that you presented this trilogy set. I read it said you offer an exploration of self-mastery, mindset shifts, and radical emotional clarity. What's a big takeaway you hope that your reader of all three of the books will have?
The one thing is, some things are out of our control. And so if it's out of our control, then we have to find ways to figure out what can I control in that situation and change it. And so those are the things that we need to focus on, because many things that we get down on ourselves for, the many things that, we put in the forefront was something that we couldn't even, handle. Like, it wasn't even our choice. But just finding the things in life that we can control, and when we can control it, change it so that it won't affect us long term.
Very true. I love that your affinity for women. I know that you're a clinical. You work in the field of medicine and health and wellness, and you take care and you treat everybody. But I just love that these books are presented for the woman. And I know timing is everything when it comes to releasing a book. So why does right now feel like the right moment for this second installment?
So the date of release is August 27th, and so that day is really a hard day for me. That's the day that my uncle passed away. He was in a car accident in 2018. And so never knowing that was the last time that I was going to speak with him, he was like my father. My father was present, but my uncle was the father. And so I was able to do everything with him, and he was like my best friend. We used to, competition. Whoever do it first gets the money. Like, he told me how to be competitive. And so when it came to, releasing of another book, I said I needed something that's going to make me not so much continue to think of that day as a sad day. And just continue to be motivated, because I know that he will be so grateful and so thankful and so excited that I've come so far. And so I said, you know what, the next book will be released on 8/27. My first book was released on my 40th birthday. Second book has a meaning released on my uncle's death date. And so I'm very intentional in finding meaning to, the things that I do.
What I love about you, and it's really special about your uncle, and I know that he's smiling down on you and really proud of you, especially if you had that close relationship. But what I love about you is that you don't just talk the talk, you're actually living what you're saying. You're practicing what you preach, as they say, and you're shifting your own mindset, and I think that is something that we all can glean from, even how we repurpose joy in our lives, and I don't know, that's really touching to me that you chose that date in honor of him, but also in honor of yourself. So then, I know you've worked with a lot of high achievers, people that have experienced burnout, people that struggle setting boundaries, which is where, sometimes the mind can get jumbled in that way. From your perspective, what are patterns that you see often in your line of work, and, and how can we begin to break them? How can we break those burnout patterns?
Acknowledging it. That's the first simple thing. Having that emotion, whatever emotion you're feeling, I always tell people, say it. The more that we say the emotion that we're feeling, the more we can train our brains to understand what that feeling feels like. And so once you start to say it, those emotions of, my stomach is weak, my shoulders hurt, those, somatic feelings will start to engage with that word that you've been saying for it. And so instead of, now your body has learned, I didn't say the word, but now my body knows what that word is. And so now I can take a moment to stop. I need to just stop. And so I always tell people, once you start to learn and feel, it's all about learning who you are. That's what mindset, that's what everything is learning who you are. Once you learn who you are, then you know, I might need to take a break. I might need to take 10 minutes. I might need to take, a vacation at home, like not do anything so that I can regroup. Or I might have to, look at this relationship and say, what boundaries do I need to set up because it is making me sick, and I figure out what that sick was and what it feels like. And so those are the one things, the major things that I notice with people. They don't say what the emotions they're feeling. And fine is not an emotion, and okay is not an emotion, and good is not an emotion. So they have to physically say what they're feeling. And I say, look up a feeling chart and find that word that you're feeling right now.
Yeah, and even the negative impact of holding that in. Like if you know you're not doing well, but you choose to say fine, you choose to say I'm okay, you choose to say I'm over it, but you're not. The long term toil. Can you speak to that? The long term impact of kind of stifling or pushing those negative emotions down.
Yes. So, not acknowledging your emotions and actually working through them can lead to more, damaging aspects such as depression, isolation, such as anxiety, not realizing like, why am I anxious right now? Why am I feeling my ears are ringing? Why am I shaking? Why do I feel like I gotta throw up? That's because some underlying emotions that you've never worked through is coming back. And so those emotions that you never worked through, guess what? Different things that you worked through in the past, if you work through it, your body automatically radars it in the future. Something similar comes and your body automatically knows this is what I need to do. So if you start and not connect with those emotions that you did not work through, it can lead to, anxiety, depression, aspects like that. And you're wondering, why am I feeling like this? Because there was something previously you never worked through.
Sure. Now let's shift to emotional wellness because I feel like that's often overlooked, when we talk about success. In your view, how does emotional wellness play a role in helping women not only heal, but to truly thrive?
You don't what's for you is for you. How you feel, you people say stuff and you be like, oh, okay, that has nothing to do with me. I'm okay with it. I'm in my lane. I'm gonna keep going. I'm thinking, I'm grateful. Emotional wellness is waking up saying three things you're grateful every day, starting off in a positive mindset. Many people ask me like, Shamar, you're always happy. Why shouldn't I be happy? I'm living, I'm breathing. If it, like I said, if it's in my control, I'm going to change it. If it's not, I can't do nothing about it. So I'm not going to continue to ponder on it so that I can get a headache, so that I, can be sad all day. I got other things that I can worry about. And there's so many things that I can be grateful for. So emotional wellness is, having that moment of being grateful, taking, having, self-care is very, very important. And many people don't realize self-care is not just about getting your hair done as a woman, getting your nails done, going on vacation. You could take 5 minutes to not do anything, 5 minutes to do, just sit there, drink some coffee, drink some tea, drink your favorite juice, something to just sit there in quietness and have a moment for yourself. That is emotional wellness.
Can you share an example in your own life of how you practice emotional wellness? Or those that you listed, you do those?
And so, also another emotional wellness thing that I do is at the end of the day in my office, I cannot leave my desk junky. If I do, I will be so discombobulated the next day. So I have to organize my desk to make sure that it's clean so that when I come in the next day, if I come into the office, I can have a clean start and I'm not, feeling like I'm anxious. And so that's another emotional wellness thing for myself. I also wake up and say three things that I'm grateful for. And then me and my family together at dinner, we always say what was three things we were grateful for the day. And so that helps me reground myself as well.
I love that you do that with your family. Oh my gosh, like that is like not only are you doing it, but like you're also teaching, and you're also encouraging your family, and then they're going to go out into the world and they're going to encourage someone else. So like that ripple effect of what you're doing. Oh my God, you're so purposeful. I love that. Let's talk about how we show up in the world, and what showing up authentically really looks like.
Okay. The first one is understanding your values. I tell people all the time, your values have to be in the forefront, whether it's your family, like family is number one, always helping your family, or, some people say my value is working, making money, but understanding that if you're going to show up authentically, you need to understand what your values are. So I tell people to write down their first 10 values. In the top five, these are the five ones that you just cannot live without. And then ask yourself, am I living by my values? Because if family is my number one value, but I'm working 100 hours a week, how much are you really seeing your family? You're really not. So that can't be your value then. And so just finding ways, different ways that you can make sure that you're intentionally living by the values that you set. That is the number one thing. And then embracing imperfection. We are not perfect at all. God wasn't even perfect, but he was close. He was almost 100%. But we got to realize that, we make mistakes and be okay with it. You just learn from them. What did I learn from this mistake that I'll never do again? And understanding that, stuff happens. Sometimes we have to pivot. It might not be going the way that you want it to go, but listen, how can I get there? If this is something that God or some that I really need, and that's something for me, how can I pivot to still get there? And so sometimes we have to just look at the situation and understand there are many ways to get to one place. And so don't be stuck on, that one way. And then speaking the truth. I always say we need a group of women that you can be authentic with, and that can check you. You have to be okay with being checked to say, I don't, what are you trying to do? Are you achieving the goals that you want to achieve? Because I ain't seen you did nothing yet. And you keep saying that you want to do it, but it's in a loving way. And so just making sure that we surround ourselves with women who empower us. And, that takes time. It's not going to, you might jump from group to group to group until you find one. Okay? You got to go through the quantity to get to the quality. And you have to be okay with going to one group and say, you know what, this ain't working out. I still love y'all, but I need to move on. And that's what I do every single year. Every single year, I write down the top 7 people I spent most of my life with for that past year. And then I'll say, should they continue to stay this close to me? Let's do the pros and cons list. What pros happen, what cons happen, and then I'll weigh the pros and the cons and say, you know what, we are still friends, but I might not spend as much time with you as I did before, because I need to find another avenue, because this is what I'm missing for me to continue to grow.
I love that you encourage the tribe, and having that group of women that can help hold you accountable, can give you that constructive criticism, and can help you have that outside lens when you may not see, the forest for the trees, and I think that's really important to have. And so, you may come across women that don't have a huge circle of friends, or, you have those friends that you grew apart, or you have childhood friends and you're like completely different people as adults, but if there's any woman watching that may feel like she doesn't have that circle, or maybe she feels a pressure to shrink herself or overperform, to be accepted by others, whether that's in the family, friend group, or even in the workplace, what would be your advice for anyone watching that knows they want to reclaim their peace, but they just haven't mastered the way to do that yet?
That's a great question, because I was like that at first, and I use social media as a positive outlet, and I'll say, I'm looking for a woman that loves to do this, this, and this. And, some people respond. And so then, some people are introverts. I'm an introvert, but I had to step outside of my comfort zone and say, oh, where do you live at? I would love for us to connect. And it could be virtual. It can be, in person if we're the same. But I'm stepping out. I'm stepping out of who I am. And that's sometimes what we have to do. Step out of who we are and just make that initial push, because people will start opening up and they'll start coming to you. You done made that initial push for yourself. You done put it in the atmosphere. This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I'm striving for. And whatever you put in the atmosphere grows. And so that's what I would tell that person.
Awesome. That is powerful advice. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about your book that's coming out. How can we grab a copy of it? Are you having a big launch event? Tell us all the things.
Absolutely. So you can visit my website, www.themindologist.com, and there is the book there. It will be released on 8/27. I am not having a book release party this time because for the HERology of a Woman, I had my 40th birthday party and it was a nice book release. But I'm having an intimate dinner with close friends just to, pour out, be poured into, and just enjoy the moment of having the second book. But we are going to potentially do some virtual events starting in the fall and into the new year. We have our Mindset Matters Fall Retreat in October. And so that is something that we're doing too to bring awareness to the book.
We got some goodies coming on. I'm so excited for what's to come in the fall and in 2026 and beyond. Now, before we wrap up today, I want to have a few lightning round questions if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. What's one word you would use to describe your current season of life?
Elevation.
Love that. If your mindset were a playlist, what's the first song that has to be on it?
They Not Like Us.
Love it. Yeah. Last one. Boundaries have been a theme in your work. What's one boundary you've recently felt really good and it made you feel liberated?
My mother. I put a boundary up with my mom. I love her to death. She is the smartest person I've ever met in my life. I think that's where I get it from. But she knows if I say, okay, it's time to go, she knows that she done did something that was just disrespectful, and she'll just hang up the phone and call me in like an hour. So that's a boundary that I recently put up.
Good for you. Well, Dr. Shamarah J. Hutchins, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you for being my special guest today. I can't wait to share this interview with you and the rest of the world. And I can't wait to share it. I'll send you all the links. I'll follow you on socials and just keep up with your journey myself. I'm really excited for the work that you're doing. And just on behalf of the planet, just want to say thank you for pouring into others.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for having me. It was a great pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to what the future holds.